Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to take you on a massive global tour today. We're going to explore exactly how human ingenuity adapts to the absolute harshest environments our planet has to offer. And honestly, we aren't just talking about dealing with a bad storm or a ruined weekend here. We're looking at places where the environment demands your respect every single day, and where survival literally depends on understanding nature better than anyone else.
So what if the weather was your greatest enemy? Most of us, we might complain about a mildly rainy afternoon or getting sweaty on an unusually hot summer day. It's an inconvenience. But I want to shake you out of that comfortable reality for just a second. Imagine waking up each morning without knowing whether today's weather could threaten your home, your livelihood, or even your life. For billions of people around the world, those life or death stakes are just an everyday reality.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our itinerary for today's journey across Earth's contrasting climates. We'll start with surviving the extremes. Then, we'll head into the furnace and the sand. From there, we pivot to worlds of water and wind. Next, we'll scale up to the frozen and the high. And finally, we'll wrap things up by looking at the future of resilience.
Section 1. Surviving the Extremes. The Global Blueprint for Adaptation.
You know, the truly fascinating thing we find across all our source materials is that billions of people don't just passively endure harsh weather, they creatively, brilliantly adapt to it. They work with nature rather than fighting against it. So, extreme weather is formally defined as events that are significantly different from typical local conditions, requiring specialized knowledge and preparation to survive. But what counts as extreme completely varies globally. In one region, it's a crippling drought lasting months. In another, it's a daily, relentless deluge of rain. But despite these wild geographical differences, the one unifying factor that always remains constant is our remarkable human adaptability.
Section 2. The furnace and the sand. Thriving in the hottest places.
Now, what's really interesting here is this shocking number, 50 degrees Celsius. We're focusing on the arid, blistering deserts of regions like North Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, and the American Southwest. In these places, daytime temperatures regularly climb above 50 degrees. That means the ground gets so hot it can literally burn unprotected skin in seconds. No joke. Because of this, the entire daily rhythm of life shifts. Outdoor work for farmers and laborers, that has to start at 3 or 4 in the morning, well before sunrise. Once the sun reaches its peak, the streets just empty out and everyone seeks shelter. So how exactly do they stay cool indoors? Well, traditional homes use these super thick walls made of mud brick or stone. Think of them like giant thermal batteries. They slowly absorb that intense heat during the day and then release it at night when the desert finally cools down. Now compare that to modern urban design, which leans heavily on highly reflective roofing and advanced insulation. Both those centuries-old traditions and modern engineering are working toward the exact same goal: maintaining survivable indoor temperatures so people aren't entirely reliant on struggling, overtaxed power grids.
But hey, heat isn't the only threat out there. You've also got the wind and the sand. When a massive wall of dust rolls in, dropping visibility to near zero, you've got to act fast. The procedural steps to survive are incredibly urgent. First, stop all outdoor activity immediately. Second, seal your doors and windows completely tight. If you're driving, pull over right away to avoid a zero visibility crash. And finally, get those protective masks and goggles on, because that fine dust will severely irritate your lungs and eyes. It's a rapid, highly coordinated survival response.
Section 3. Worlds of water and wind. Navigating floods and storms. And this brilliantly illustrates the crazy extremes of our planet. Let's pivot sharply right now. We're leaving the parched, cracked earth of the desert behind and jumping straight into the wettest, stormiest regions on Earth. The contrast here is just wild.
On one side, we just talked about desert water scarcity, right? Where every single drop is hoarded, tapped from ancient fossil aquifers, or carefully harvested from rare rain. But flip the coin to the monsoon deluge. In places like northeastern India, rain falls almost every single day. Their challenge isn't finding water, it's surviving it. These completely differing extremes force completely opposite human relationships with water. In flooded regions, they build houses on tall stilts. And get this, they weave living root bridges out of rubber fig trees. Trees that actually grow stronger with the endless rain. How cool is that?
Now, when water and wind combine on a massive scale, you get a hurricane, or a typhoon or cyclone, depending on where you live. Here's the meteorological engine behind it. It all starts with ocean temperatures rising above 26.5 degrees Celsius. That warm, moist air shoots rapidly upward, which leaves an area of low pressure down below. More air rushes in to fill that gap, and because the Earth is rotating, those winds start to spiral. Day by day, it grows into a massive, rotating system capable of producing winds well over 250 kilometers per hour.
But here is a absolutely crucial fact to understand about these coastal storms. The greatest threat isn't always the wind. The real, catastrophic danger is often the storm surge. This happens when those powerful hurricane winds act like a giant bulldozer, pushing huge volumes of seawater directly toward the coastline. It can raise water levels several meters above normal, completely flooding coastal neighborhoods with seawater in just a matter of minutes. That right there is exactly why evacuation orders are issued so early.
Moving inland over to North America, we find Tornado Alley. Out there, the sky can turn from a beautiful blue to violent darkness in less than an hour. The winds here? They are the fastest on Earth. Let's zoom into the micro-human details of how families actually survive this. They are constantly monitoring the skies via Doppler radar. Kids run through regular drills at school, and when those community sirens start to wail, the response is immediate. Everyone rapidly moves to reinforced steel and concrete safe rooms or down into deep underground basements. They know their survival literally depends on seconds, not hours.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 4, the frozen and the high, life at the coldest edges. We are traveling from the spinning, violent storms of the plains straight to the silent, freezing extremes of the Arctic and the high mountains. Brace yourself for this one, -60 degrees Celsius. Just to anchor you in that visceral reality, think of the village of Oymyakon in eastern Siberia. At -60, survival is measured by protecting every single bit of warmth. Cars and machinery, they're just left running continuously. Because if you turn the engine off, the metal and the fluids will freeze completely solid, and you'll never get it restarted. To give you a sensory detail of what this actually feels like, if you take freshly washed clothes and hang them outside, they freeze solid within minutes. They literally turn into stiff wooden boards. When you step outside, every breath feels sharp and completely dry inside your lungs. Moisture from your own breath instantly freezes on your scarf, and your eyelashes quickly collect these tiny, heavy crystals of ice. It is an environment that is actively fighting human biology. A defining feature of these deeply frozen regions is permafrost. That's ground that remains completely frozen for at least 2 consecutive years, basically acting like solid rock beneath your feet. But if the heat from a building melts that ground, the house is going to sink and crack. So human ingenuity steps in once again. Homes are elevated on supports. This allows the freezing air to circulate underneath so the ground stays perfectly frozen and the building doesn't just get swallowed up by the earth. High altitudes present a very similar extreme, but you get the added fun challenge of thin air.
Way up in the Himalayas and the Andes, survival requires some remarkable biological and agricultural ingenuity. Over generations, populations have actually developed physiological adaptations to function on low oxygen. To eat, they carve these beautiful terraced farms straight into steep slopes. They rely heavily on yaks and llamas for transport through the rugged terrain. They cultivate super resilient crops like barley and potatoes, and they build brilliant irrigation systems fed directly by glacial meltwater.
Section 5. The Future of Resilience. Preparing for a Shifting Planet.
Now, all of these isolated communities we've been talking about are incredible, for sure, but they don't exist in a vacuum. We really have to view them in a unified global context, especially as our planet's climate goes through this massive shift. You see, surviving extreme weather isn't just a one-off event. It's a continuous timeline of preparation and recovery. Days before disaster, advanced tech like satellites and supercomputers track the threat. Minutes before, mobile alerts prompt immediate sheltering. In the immediate aftermath, it's neighbors and search and rescue teams out there saving lives. And months later, it's all about rebuilding smarter with stricter, modernized building codes. It's this constant loop powered by both cutting-edge tech and deep community solidarity.
But here's the thing. Our technology can only take us so far. Humanity's absolute best defense against a changing climate involves working hand in hand with nature's built-in defense mechanisms. We have to start treating natural ecosystems as essential infrastructure. Think about it. Mangrove forests absorb wave energy to drastically reduce those storm surges we talked about. Wetlands act like giant sponges to just soak up floodwater. And forests bind the soil together with their roots to prevent catastrophic landslides. Nature really is the ultimate engineering solution. And we're going to need those defenses more than ever, because the observable data right now is incredibly clear. Heat waves are lasting longer. Rainfall events are getting way more intense. Shrinking sea ice is totally changing polar life. Thawing permafrost is destabilizing northern infrastructure, and warmer oceans are fueling much stronger coastal storms. The edge of extreme weather isn't just staying out in the deep deserts or the high mountains anymore. It's literally moving toward all of us, demanding smarter cities and highly flexible systems.
So, the crucial point is really captured in this quote. Resilience is not the absence of hardship. It is the ability to recover, rebuild, and continue moving forward. These extreme communities, the desert dwellers, the ice fishers, the tornado survivors, they are our global blueprint. They teach us that we absolutely can endure, but only if we learn, adopt, and deeply respect the natural world around us.
I want to leave you with this one provocative thought. The question is not whether extreme weather will exist in the future. The real question is, how prepared will we be to live with it? Because human beings have proven over and over again that we can build worlds inside the most powerful forces on Earth. The blueprint is already there. The rest of it, well, that's up to us. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and stay curious.